Welcome to the Emotionally Booked, Blooming, and Baked podcast. Today we're emotionally baking, where emotions and baking are the two most perfect ingredients. Hello, and welcome back to the Emotionally Baked podcast, where we talk about our emotions, all while baking something yummy in the hopes of working it out. Here we are again today. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. I'm kind of excited about this recipe only because I don't think I've ever made something. I've made pistachio cake all the time, but pistachio muffins I have not made yet. I honestly don't think I have. So I'm kind of excited about it. And I kind of felt like I wanted them. So it's a win-win. And I felt like there was this topic weighing on my heart that I wanted to really talk about as well. And I felt like it just kind of meshed well together. So today's bake is pistachio muffins, and today's topic is postpartum. Thank you for joining me. Let's go. All right, friends. So I have my favorite bowl. We're going to be mixing up our ingredients in here. Just going to kind of we're going to do all the wet ingredients and then we're going to sift all the dry ingredients. This recipe comes from Tornado, like dough, like DOUGH dough, Tornado Alley, but Alley as in her name.com. Very cool website name. Love that. So this comes from that website, and I'll put all the ingredients below and all the amounts as well. But that is where I found it. So, all right, so we're just gonna mix this up. So our first wet ingredients are sugar, oil, eggs, vanilla. We have a half a cup of milk and a quarter cup of sour cream. So we're just gonna get that mixed up. I already have my sugar in here, and we're gonna get these other things going. So why did I choose to talk about postpartum today of all days? Well, to be honest with you, there is a lot going on right now in that space of discussion. That was the oil, this is the milk. And I really felt, it's hard to go on. Like, I do have a Facebook, I do have social media, I have Instagram. It's hard to go on those spaces and, how should I say, for me, it's hard for me to go and join in the conversation that way. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So I prefer to go in the conversation this way in my podcast, because I feel like I can fully process and explain my feelings about it rather than like reacting to something that's happening in the world, happening all around us, that kind of thing. So I feel like I can kind of be more, focused, I think. Focused. We need a quarter cup of sour cream. So we're gonna get the sour cream out here and measure out a quarter cup. I'm glad I had some. I was concerned at first that I didn't have any sour cream. So that is one item I keep, but I don't like, my family likes it a lot. So I don't necessarily, I can't bank on the fact that I have this in my refrigerator. So I was very glad that I had it. Okay, I'm gonna put that in with the rest of the wet ingredients. I'm just gonna whisk these up until it is smooth. And then I'm going to whisk in, some eggs from my chickens. Thank you, chickens. Got 2 eggs. So that's kind of the reason why I wanted to do this topic on this type of forum, just because I feel more comfortable doing it this way. And the comfort is the comfort level is there. So postpartum. Now, I was doing some of my own research, and I learned that postpartum can last up to 5 years after you've given birth to a child. And, oh, I probably should put a disclaimer. Like if this topic is triggering for anybody, if this is something that you don't want to, hear discussed, I totally understand. Skipping by it and on it, and I totally get it. That is my other pumpkin muffins being made. I made other muffins as well because my daughter heard I was making muffins and she said, "Can you make some pumpkin as well?" So we have 2 sets of muffins happening at the moment. So we'll get those out of the oven. All right, pumpkin muffins are out of the oven. Yay! And now we're going to continue with this recipe. But so yeah, just small disclaimer. I totally get it if we want to pass on this episode. Postpartum is difficult, and talking about it and expressing feelings about it and going through it is definitely hard. And so I can this topic is very sensitive for me to talk about. So I have brought this topic has definitely come more to the surface lately because of certain things that are happening in the certain social media, like that have been come to light. I don't really want to put light on that case so much. There's a case that's happening right now, but if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, it's okay if you don't. We're just talking about postpartum. So so it's been on my mind a lot lately because of it being around lately. And so I thought I'd share my thoughts about it. And I'm surprised I haven't talked about it before, but also not surprised because of the sensitivity of the whole thing. I do have 1 pack here of Jell-O pistachio pudding mix. I'm going to be putting that into here and whisking it up. And so I don't want to go too deep into the topic, but I do want to talk a little bit about it because it is a very sensitive topic. And so I want to try to be very cautious about what I say. And I'm only going to speak from my experience. I have had 4 children, and with each, I feel like with each pregnancy, whether that pregnancy results in a live birth or not, postpartum is definitely one of the things that I remember being pregnant for the first time and not thinking too much about it in terms of what it was going to look like for me afterwards. To be honest, I didn't think about it. All right, I have my flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt in here, and I'm just going to whisk it. I'm going to mute ya because this is loud. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to whisk this slowly. The bowl is quite full. So it was my experience that my postpartum gradually increased with each pregnancy. That was my experience. It might not be everyone's experience, because I don't know how. I have no idea how postpartum works in the scientific, technical, like how that happens in ourselves. Like, But for me, I will only say that I realized that it did increase with each pregnancy. That's what I realized for myself. But I will be honest, when I first had my daughter, I will say I was pretty oblivious to, how do I put it? The terminology, and I was very oblivious to the signs of postpartum. And if somebody would have asked me in the moment when I had my first daughter, don't think I would have known what postpartum was. I don't think I would have been able to define it. I don't think I would have been able to even categorize, I don't think I had the appropriate knowledge base at that time. I was very young when I had my daughter. I was 24, so very young, and I don't think I was just up on what everything meant and what mental health meant and anything. Didn't know. With my first son, going into it, it was only 2.5, 3 years later that I had my son, and I can still say I was pretty naive about postpartum looked like, and for me, but also I started feeling things that I didn't know. I was like, what is this feeling? Like, why am I feeling this way? Either the blues or that kind of thing. And I really just didn't know how to put them into words, or just how to say, well, maybe this is what this is or isn't, or, I don't know. Do I need to get help? Do I need to say anything to anybody? Didn't know. Okay, while I keep talking, I grabbed a scooper and I'm going to just put the mix into a pan. And the mix, love pistachio mix. It's so pretty. It's green. Alrighty. So, yeah, it was quite, when you don't quite know kind of what to call something, or, what you're going through mental health wise, you just kind of don't know where to even start, right? And let's be honest, if you have had a pregnancy and you've gone through postpartum, let's just say, I think this is common knowledge, but it might not be common knowledge. I did not feel like I received the proper postpartum care looking back on it. As having given birth and gone through such a major shift in a body that's insane. Okay, so just to interrupt the conversation just a little bit, I'm going to take some sugar and I'm going to sprinkle it on top of each one of these. Now, I don't have decorating sugar. I just have granulated sugar. I'm sure it's fine. It's not going to do that pretty crumbly top that some muffins have, and that's okay. We're just going to do it this way. So the oven said just set for 425 for 5 minutes, and then to reduce it to 350 for 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes. So we're going to do that because what it does, and I've learned this, is that it helps the rise and then the crispy top, and then when you turn it down, it just bakes the rest. So that's kind of fun to do. So let me stick these in really quick. They are super fun and pretty. So let's stick those in and get back to the conversation. Okay, so while we let that initial bake go, and then we'll turn it down, continue our conversation. So yeah, as you can tell, it is pretty difficult to talk about anyways, even though, it's been years for me from my kiddos. But I remember, so I had a very big age gap between my middle child and my third child, about 8 years age gap. And I remember, in that 8 years, I feel like I had time to become more educated about my mental health. There were other things that happened in my life that kind of built upon those stepping stones of like learning. And so I remember going into my third child's pregnancy thinking like, I really need to watch out for the symptoms and what I was going through. And that's when I did notice that after having my third child, it was definitely much more than the previous two children, and that I really did need to take care of what I was seeing, that was, the symptoms and the signs that I was seeing. And to have that realization that there's something that is happening that you are aware of. Like, it's like, I'm aware that this happens. I'm aware that postpartum is a thing and that I did experience some before, but I think not until you are like, after you're removed from it for a while, especially that 8-year gap when I was removed from it, the sign still shocked me, coming back and being postpartum was like, oh my goodness, that's right. Like this, these are the things I was feeling and all the things. And it's a little scary. I will say it's a little scary to recognize like those things that are, going on, because, there are moments when, at least in my life, I'm like, I try to convince myself that I can handle all things. I can do all things. I can, X, Y, Z. And I just had to finally realize that I couldn't do all things and I needed assistance. I needed help. And sometimes that's hard. It's hard to recognize that and to really see that. So fast forwarding to my most recent pregnancy is when I feel like I have noticed the biggest change in the postpartum world that I had been experiencing. And again, there were other factors to that experience, that pregnancy experience as well. I mean, being a gestational carrier and having that be an element to the pregnancy and the recovery and all of that has definitely, at the time, I didn't realize how much it was affecting my postpartum, and I wasn't seeking assistance for it as much as I probably should have been. And all of that to say is, like, when I mentioned in the beginning that postpartum can last for quite a long time after having a child, having a pregnancy, having a birth. I have realized myself that my postpartum has lasted for quite a long time, and I have neglected getting help for it when I knew I needed to. And I finally have, which is really good. I finally have gotten help for it. And I think that was the hardest kind of realization, is to realize that there does need to be next steps taken after you realize that, like some postpartum, like I remember my daughters, I felt okay, and it was like, okay, I can handle it. My middle, I was like, okay, I can handle it. It's okay, And then my third, it was like, maybe I need, I probably should, yeah, okay, I need to, and then definitely this last one, it was like, all right, we we need to really get some focus on our mental health. And I just think, looking on all the pregnancies that I've had, I can honestly say I feel each one that there are, I want to, it's hard to say that, like, I feel like there has to be two sides to the coin. Like, I, number one, don't feel like I got as much, like, you just get your 6-week checkup after you've had your child, and then that's it. But I also think, like, on the other side, like, if I felt like I needed something, I should have felt comfortable enough to talk and go and see somebody and, be an advocate for myself. And I will say, that's really hard to be an advocate for yourself sometimes. Especially if, like, I have you might not be able to tell, but I have a shy personality at times. And standing up for myself in certain aspects is hard. And definitely that is one of them. And in the beginning, I definitely wasn't confident enough. And now by this end, I'm feeling like this age, 45, I'm like, okay, I definitely need something. And it's never too late. It's never too late to get help. So yeah, just this whole topic has just really kind of like weighed on my heart lately, because I just felt like there's a lot more voice to be had, or I shouldn't say voice, there's a lot more, I feel like, discussion that needs to be had about what postpartum is, what it can look like, how it feels, how, to deal with it, how family can help, how supporters can help, how we as the birth mothers have, like, what do we have on our side, and what resources do we have, and how to, advocate for ourselves. And yeah, so I just feel like there needs to be more conversation. I don't believe I'm solving anything by talking to it. I just wanted to give a voice from a perspective of someone who's had multiple births and didn't realize what was happening until much, much later. And I'm glad I didn't wait too long, because I do think there probably could have been a point where I waited too long. I'm glad I only waited, even though it's 4 years, I waited enough, and I'm glad I'm getting what I need to get for me. And I just want to encourage y'all, if postpartum, if this is a season of life that you're in, I am wanting to encourage you to yes, be an advocate for yourself. Seek those who you can speak to, seek those who you can trust. And yeah, it's difficult sometimes, but you're not alone. All right, friends. Well, I feel like I rambled long enough. I definitely have only scratched the surface of this topic. This is not something that I feel like is easily discussed in a half-an-hour podcast. I feel like it's definitely a much, much bigger discussion. Maybe one that I will do a part 2 with some other time. Yeah, but I will show you how beautiful these muffins look when they're finished. They're going to be done here in the next 5 minutes. And yeah. All right, friends. So whether the salt in your recipe comes from tears or a teaspoon, just remember, we baked it out. Have a good one.